Alrighty. Hey everybody, Steve here, the retired hobby tech guy. And today, what we're doing is we're coming to you live from South Korea. Yeah, I'm an American expat. I retired over here and I got my morning latte. We're going to talk about the version 2 of the 8-inch rotating 60 milliliter paint rack. Yeah, it's finally done. That is so good. Anyway, welcome to the channel. Excuse me. This project came out as a response to me buying some paint sets, Art Deco Paints, which is a 60 milliliter. They have a 60 milliliter bottle tube thing, and then they have a 59 milliliter. And I have some paint racks and stuff that I've done in the past, and it just wasn't. I didn't want to do a rack. I wanted to do something that would build up and then be able to rotate, so hence a rotating paint rack system. And I started perusing the interwebs to find STLs for something that I wanted. I didn't really find anything, and so I was like, yeah. Then I started looking at spice racks because I looked at rotating, and what I ended up finding was some spice racks. George is here. George, morning. Or good evening, I should say, for George over there. But yeah, I started looking into paint racks and rotating and didn't really find anything, but then up popped some rotating spice racks. And then I got the idea of, let's make the paint rack kind of like what we ended up seeing there, kind of a little bit of a cylinder stacked, kind of like a spice rack rotating thing. But then I also wanted to incorporate that it would hold a number of different types of paint. So from 60 milliliter, you could do 59, you could do smaller, you could do 17 milliliter bottles if you wanted. Again, it just it's almost a one size fits all. And then, matter of fact, George here, he ended up suggesting a paintbrush holder on there. So we did some, on the version 1, I added a paintbrush holder on the bottom tier, or whatever tier that you want. And then the version 2, because it was too spread out. And so the brushes would be kind of like sticking way out. It's kind of like the bottom of a Christmas tree. And I thought, well, that's going to take up some more space. So I re-angled the brush holders there. And then I got the idea to add a brush holder as a top cap so you could put the brushes on top. I know this kind of sounds kind of weird, but we're going to jump into, and when I show you this, it'll make a lot of sense, Ferrithus, good morning. Good morning, sir. How is it going? We're talking about the new version 2 of the rotating paint rack, and we're going to jump right into this. So here we are in Tinkercad, because that's my level of expertise in CAD, and what we started out with here was, and this is to be used with an 8-inch Lazy Susan. You can purchase these off of Amazon, and so you can see that right there. There'll be a link in the model on the Creality Cloud page. But you can get, they have different options. And this model, or this paint rack, uses an 8-inch Lazy Susan. So that's the one that I end up using. Matter of fact, we'll just put it in the comments section in case anybody cares. 8-inch Lazy Susan, Amazon, and boom, there you go. So there's that there. So in the version 1 is what you can end up seeing is we had these brush holders here, and they were just angled a little bit too far out. And so what I ended up doing on the version 2 that we see here, I angled them a little bit higher up instead of that 28 degrees. So you can see that, we'll get some, if you wanted to use that, you don't have to, because we also have some other things there. But that was an improvement that I made from the version 1 to the version 2. And then, like I said, what we ended up doing with the version 2 is creating some caps. George ends up saying, the cap will probably work far better. Yep. So we've got two different caps there. We've got one here which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you could have 19 brushes with this one here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 6. We've got 10 brushes that you could do here. And then we have this cap here that if you didn't want to use a cap, so in other words, once you have all your tiers stacked, and what you could end up doing is, what we can end up seeing here is we've got a cylinder down at the bottom. So the whole idea is this would sit right there, and that would be your cap on the top. So you could either do that, or you could do that and have your brushes there. Again, or you could have it, you know, like on this one here, that could be the top as well if you didn't want to use this piece here. The other thing you could end up doing is also putting that cap on there. So if you didn't want to use any type of brush holder on there, you could just throw the cap on there and it would end up like that. So then you could throw whatever stuff that you wanted in there. So that's kind of what I've been working on for a while. And it's been kind of a fun project. I've been enjoying it. And the version 1 has the old one here, the version 1, and it has the brush holders on the bottom that are slanted out at about 28 degrees. I think the ones on the version 2 here are like 12 or 14 degrees, something like that, so it's a little bit better. Both versions have this piece right here, and both versions have the center column piece there. So basically what you'd end up doing, let's say if you want to do 3 tiers, you would print out, you know, let's say you printed out this one here, and then you put in a tier, and then you'd end up doing this here, and you would lift that up like so, and then you'd make another one of these, and you bring that up, and that would go like that, and then you'd have another top piece that could go, and these are about 100 millimeters high. And then what you could end up doing is then you could end up taking your cap and setting the cap up on there, and basically that's how your system would work. Excuse me. So that's how the idea came about, and to stack that system. And then again, like I said, down here at the bottom, you could put your brushes there. If you don't want to do that, you could print out, you know, the top cap brush holder, I guess you could call it. And if you got a lot of brushes, you could do that one there. So something like that, you know. So basically you could have a cool little brush holder, paint holder type thing. Let's see, what else do we got? Rotating paint rack. Nice, thank you. Ferrithus also said, I would add a spike to the column pieces so they would interlock better and have better contact surface if you glue them or not. That's true. That's a good idea. I could do that. That could be like a version 3. For this right now, we're just going to stick with the version 2, and maybe I'll do some adjustments on that as well. While this is out, if anybody wants to remix this and make some different pieces for this, feel free. Absolutely, no problem. You know, you can get this on the Creality Cloud, and it is no problem whatsoever. So if you want to play around with that stuff there and add different modifications or whatever to this system, feel free. I'm going to be moving on right now to painting up the rest of my helmet and some other stuff. I only got a few days left until they have the Halloween stuff, and hopefully I can get that helmet done back over there. So anyway, excuse me. But yeah, that spike idea would be pretty good, because basically, I guess what you're talking about would be like take this piece here, and then we could add a spike onto it, and we could kind of make that taller, bigger, whatever, and kind of like so, and then center that, and then have the on the other side, so we would join that together, and so we could like join that, and then we could bring this whole thing up like so, and then we could zoom into here, and then so get that about right where it's wherever it connects, and then this bottom piece with the spike on there, what you could end up doing is making that a hole. And so I guess you could do something like making sure that's connected, but you'd have to bring that down. I think we're good there. And then we could take this piece, and then we could zoom in to, how would I do that? George says, I'm still learning Tinkercad. Yeah, me too. Faritha says, yeah, just like that. I assume they will glue together. That significantly increase the glue contact area. Yeah. Let me see. So we could do, then I'd have to do another piece on that. So if we do that, and we do that, and then we do this, and we could group that, we could make that a hole, and then we could take this and go back and make sure that this is all lined up. And like that, and then what we could end up doing is grouping these together. And let's see, come on, group, no, group. So anyway, why is that not grouping? Oh, there it goes, okay. So yeah, we would end up having a hole like that, and then we could do a couple of those. Yes, it will glue together, and it registers the piece so you can't misalign them during the gluing process. That's true. That's a good idea. So maybe we'll do a version 3. I definitely want to try to, if I do this, I definitely want to glue, or not glue, but print these out and make sure they work. But as it is right now with these pieces, like with this and this, so far they seem to work pretty well. So in other words, they line up good, and there's like within the slot here for this piece here, it ends up there's like a 2 or a 5 millimeter depth for that tier, and then 2.5 millimeters is basically this distance here from here to here. And then, of course, on the other piece on the bottom, you'd have 2.5, so you kind of get that separation. But that, yeah, that's a good idea right there. I like that. So maybe we'll do that. Does that even look? That doesn't look right. That is not right. So we'd have to redo that. So obviously I have to spend more time on that. So anyway, that's what we end up having. Right now, as it is, they would just glue together. You would have these cylinder pieces that we have here. Those would just glue one on top of each other. And so, you know, however that goes, and then I guess it'd be like that. And then they glue like that, and it should be good to go. But yeah, for the added, I like that idea. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think CA glue would be good, good enough for that, and especially considering it's, you know, not going to get heavy use. It's just kind of sit there and spin. But yeah, I like that idea. I like that. I like it. I like it. So anyway, what we ended up doing on the Creality Cloud page that we end up having here, the Varied Life, we've got the version 1 here, and then we have the version 2, and that one is still in review, and because I just loaded it up. And the version 3, I think if I do the version 3, maybe I'll just do the center pieces, maybe not the whole thing, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, it seems to be a pretty cool little thing here. And so what we're going to end up doing now is we'll go over to the desk there. Let me get a little swig of this, and this will give you time to like the video. I would appreciate that. We picked up a new, I just had my birthday. We just got back. We went to Sokcho, which is in the northeastern part of Korea, up by the mountains. For my birthday, we're hoping to go up to the mountains, see all the leaves change and everything, but unfortunately the weather didn't cooperate. It ended up raining, clouds stocked in, so even if we did go up to the mountains, on the cable car, we wouldn't be able to see anything because it was so socked in. But we did have some good seafood and stuff, and we just I was able to pick up some coffee. So we got some coffee, Cupper. They have a coffee museum up there, and they brew their own coffee, but they also roast their own beans, and that's what we're rocking here today, and it is so good. It's got more of a rich flavor to this one than we've had in the past. So, and it was really dark. So I had to change the grind size for everything. So anyway, what we're going to end up doing now, we're going to move over there, and we'll do a time lapse and show you the printing of one of these. And hopefully by the time that time lapse is done, we'll be over there and we can take a look at this paint rack thing up close and personal. So let's go ahead and get started. And there we are. Okay, here we are. Ta-da! So here's what we ended up doing. We have these all printed out. So this is 5 millimeters. And then we have, this is the one with the paint holders, paintbrush holders. So that way you could put these in. And this is the original version 1. And the version 2, because these cylinders and these paintbrush holders are at 28 degrees, and I think I put them up at like 14. So that should be good. Now this is going to sit on a Lazy Susan. I put it back because I was doing some painting, but so the whole bottom piece would rotate using a Lazy Susan. The other thing, so we have these, and you might have to sand the bottom of these. So that would glue into there, and then we have the other piece, and then we do another piece, and then we do another piece, and we do another piece, and then another piece, and then we could do something like the small cap if you didn't want to have anything. And I readjusted the cap because this piece was like 2.5 millimeters. So I added another half, so it should be 3. So we should get some good contact, and it should rotate even more freely. And again, if we take these, what you're going to be doing is you're going to glue here and not onto this piece here. So that way this can freely spin. So of course the bottom, you can glue the bottom, but I mean, you could just leave it like that as well. I mean, you might not even need a Lazy Susan, but you can rotate that, but that's not glued. So, I don't know if I'd want to do that. I would probably want to glue the bottom. The other piece that we end up having is this one here. and this one would go on the top. And so let's just take this and let's say we're just going to do 2, and we could do that, and then that would rotate as well. So for this and the cylinder piece and for this piece here, you don't need any supports, but for this you would need, of course, we got some little supports that we can just get rid of. Oh no, no, come out of there. Seriously. So this should work out pretty good. I did tree supports, and I was thinking, oh no, maybe I should have done the regular supports. But so far, these are looking to be pretty good. Not bad. Get a little piece back in there. So, yeah, so this is the project that we've been working on. And I should have done this beforehand, but somebody left a comment. Let me see. Oh, I didn't put my tablet on. Let's go ahead and get the tablet so I can look at. And we want to go to YouTube and no, I don't want YouTube Premium. Oh, seriously, really? So the YouTube thing did the that's not what we want. It's resetting. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Top piece you can print without supports. Those small holes should easily print cleanly using bridges. And the other thing I ended up, I was thinking about that, and with this, these were just cylinders that I put into here that were flat, and what I could end up doing is also going through and putting a circle or sphere on the end of the cylinder, and so that way that would alleviate that problem as well. So, and then that's another idea that I had. I was like, and it was like, this was printing out, and it was like halfway through, and I'm like, oh, dang it. But it's just filament. But yeah, version 3. So the version 3, we'll do the upgraded. I don't know if I do a spike. I guess we could do a spike. Spike would be good, because it would just do the little spike, maybe just about a ½ inch, or an inch tall, and then of course the corresponding hole on the bottom there. And then change these supports, or change these holes for these. And good thing is with the 0.24 top Z distance, it ends up, these supports come out like super nice. So yeah, we could end up doing that, and then take your paint brushes and you are good to go. And these are big enough holes that, I mean, that's the biggest brush that I have there, and that fits into the holes. Maybe I have a bigger brush? No, that's the biggest brush I have. Yeah. Let's see, I got another fatty. Hold on. This is the biggest one, but even that fits a little bit. So that's enough for, yeah, some decent sized brushes in there. You can do that. We can do these weird shaped brushes. And that would sit up on the top, and then you could have your rotating. And of course, if this is glued, boom, then you're good to go. So yeah, cool stuff. That's what we got going on. That is for now, probably what I'll end up doing is I'll just use this. I'll just glue it, glue the bottom one, and make sure that I don't get glue on the top of this. And we should have our entire paint thing. So yeah, good stuff. I don't know. Let's see. Can you see the whole thing? No, it's like huge. Look at that. It's like a monster. So, and in case anybody is wondering, this thing comes out to about 14.5 inches tall, about here. And then you're looking at width probably about 9 inches across from tip to tip. So, yeah, not bad. I think it'll work out well. And with the little bit of extra space that I added on to this little lip here, that other 0.5 millimeter on the caps, we should be good to go on that. So yeah, that's what we got going on. That is our paint stack. And like I said, this will end up, you can use a variety of paints. So here is Vallejo airbrush paint. This is 60 milliliters, that fits in there. Yeah, the Art Deco, which is 60 milliliters, that fits in there. You have the other Art Deco, which is a 59 milliliters, that fits in there. You know, have some other stuff. You could even do something like, you know, this AK Streaking Grime, that fits in there. The 17 milliliter Army Painter paints, those fit in there as well. So pretty much, and the Citadel paints fit in here as well, but they go so far down that you can't get the paint out. So you'd have to put some type of stopper down in there, so that way you could have the paint be able to go in there. So yeah, there's that. So you could have something like, easy, get some cardboard or something like that, and you could end up putting your little Citadel paints in there. So yeah, just some little minor tweaks that you could end up doing. You know, you could end up putting, you know, super glue in there, the crackle paint. Yeah, that works. So that's a 60 milliliter bottle. So that clears enough. So the angle comes out enough so that if you have some of these larger ones, it will clear, and that's why I use that 28 degrees. So I wanted there to be enough clearance to be able, that if the bottle was longer or thinner or, you know, taller, that could accommodate that as well. So yeah, it turns out pretty good. I think it worked out well. And even these bottom paint racks won't do a pen. Of course, you can see how these kind of push out. I think it's too big. Yeah, that one's too big. So as you can see, you can do something like that, but you notice how you're going to take up some more real estate. So you're going to add, you know, another 2 inches coming out. So you're going to lose some real estate, and that kind of, with the new version, the version 2, these will be more at, I think it was 14 degrees. So, but yeah, if you don't like that, you can always use the paintbrush holder on the top there, and that could even be just a standalone thing. And if you just wanted to put the cap on there, and then you could have like a little storage area up here. So yeah, options, that's what we have, are options. And you could put other stuff in there, whatever, you know. Just kind of some cool different stuff that you can end up doing. So yeah, multi-faceted, multi-use rotating storage rack system. So that's what we end up having there. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and we'll go back to, and you could even put your little paint thing, your paint mixer tool that I made, which works out really well. You can just set it up there up on the top. However you want to do that. Of course, you have to glue it all in there, but it'd be good to go. Alrighty, so that worked out pretty good. So with that, let's go back to the desk, to the computer desk. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. I like it. I like it. So as we go, let's catch up on the comments here. Oh yeah, like Ferris was saying, the top piece can be printed without support, so small holes should easily print cleanly using bridges. That's true. And like I said, what I was going to end up doing is just have the cylinder as the hole, and then have a half sphere on top of that, and then that would do that as well. Ferrithus also says, or just create a chamfer at the bottom of those holes that chamfers the walls to a point. No overhang, no supports, and the brushes don't care. That's true. So it could end up making I guess what you're saying is this. Let's take a look. Take a look-see. So we can do something like this. Let's just copy that. And we will undo this. Let's just go ahead and we'll group all these together because that's going to stay the same. And we could end up doing, we could even just put a cone on top of these. So I could do something like that. And then whatever that ends up being, make that the same diameter. And so when this prints, so basically when that prints out, of course we'd have to want it to be centered and the correct size and everything, but with that whole piece, and make this a hole, make the whole thing a hole like that, then what'll end up happening is that you wouldn't need supports at all. So you could do something like that, or we could end up doing, like I said, you could do a circle and just kind of bring that in, and you could kind of do the same thing. So something like that, and you would need supports as well. So yeah, pretty good. Let's see. Ferrithus says, boom, nice idea. If you implement the spike version, you may even be able to print out a base that has a ridge this rides on. Then you wouldn't even need to buy Lazy Susan. That's true. So, interesting. Interesting. Version 3. Wow, cool. So, that would be an idea. Yeah, have a base with a spike, and then that way the bottom piece would rotate. Gotcha. Yeah, so many good ideas. So anyway, so that's what we kind of got going on here, is more upgrades. So cool, all of you being able to do that little thing there. Oh, I still have that other one. I could just delete that. But yeah, some pretty cool ideas. And for the rotating paint rack, this is really cool. I like it, and all the ideas. I mean, George had a good idea. Ferrithus has good ideas always. So yeah, pretty good. I like it. So that is the version 2. We will do a version 3. I think we will, maybe a little bit later down the road. But yeah, if somebody, like I said, if Ferrithus or anybody else who's watching this, if you want to take this and remix it, we can do that, or you can do that. And let me see if this is, let me see if it posted yet. I think it did post. Yes, it did. So if you want to pick up that model or any free models that I've done, Life free models, you can find that there on that link. And if you want to download those, if you want to remix them, the 3MF file is on there as well. So you're probably wondering, what is he looking at? It's looking at this page here. So yeah, feel free to, download, remix, do some other stuff. I know Ferrith has added some changes to some stuff. He remixed the Creality RFID spool drawers. He put a little latch on there, and that was kind of cool. So yeah, feel free to download any of this, make any changes you want, improvements, make it better than what I've done. And can't hear me? No. Let me see. Testing, testing. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay, George says he can hear me. Ferrithus can't hear me. Oops. Yep, my fault. Usually that's my fault. So we just found out Ferrithus is not perfect. It's good to know you're part of the mere mortals. You're only you're a demigod. So, man, kind of, it's good to know that you have some human frailties every once in a while. But yeah, this whole rotating paint rack thing is pretty cool. I like the idea of the spikes. I like the idea that George had for the brush holder, and then that idea for the base tier, and then that kind of morphed into, a top cap, and we could store brushes on the top by doing that. Ferrithus came up with the idea of, printing without, supports, which you probably could now that I think about it, because that distance is really small and minimal. Probably didn't need supports. But what I'll probably do is go through and I'll probably add like a half sphere to the holes on that top cap, and it should be pretty good. So we'll end up doing that. It was perfectly synced with the scene switch. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. When I do the transition, for some reason it cuts out the video. So yeah, I don't know why with the transition why that cuts out the mic. I think it's because it's supposed to play. If there's any audio, it would play the audio, and it just automatically defaults and cuts out the main mic, which is my Blue Yeti microphone. So I'll have to look and see what goes on with that. I'm old, so forgive me. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Like I said, we had a good birthday, big 5'9", 60, 61 stew. So I'm 3 years away from drawing Social Security. So we've got that. That's another goal. That's on the bucket list, and be able to fund more stuff that we'll do. But until then, we're just going to continue on making models. We're going to continue painting. I really need to get on that last helmet there, that Psycho helmet from Galactic Armory, because that needs some attention. And I need to get that done because today is, what day is today? Today is the 23rd, and then they have a Halloween celebration thing here in Korea, close to the military base, on the 25th. So I only got a couple of days. So I got to get that done, painted, and then I also have the big rifle. I need to really blaze through that and knock that out. So the rest of my time, the version 3 of the rotating paint rack is going to be put on hold because I got to get that helmet done and I got to get the rifle done. So and luckily for the helmet, really the only thing I need to do is do some more distressing, put some more line work with Mr. Sharpie, and put on a UV lacquer on it, and we should be good to go. So I just really need to sit down and knock that out today. And let's see what else. The rifle is going to be a bit of a big one. Let me show you. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun. So this is the rifle, and the rifle ended up printing out pretty good. It's like, I don't know how long this is, but that's long. And printing this out is going to be interesting. So it's even got the magazine. I can go in here, boom, like so. So we got the bullpup design. And I'm trying to come up with some color sequences or color scheme that I could do. And I'm thinking kind of like with a lead belcher, or even that black pearl that we have with the Arteco paints for the suppressor that's on the front here. And then we'll do kind of like some silver and something else. And this part here, I want to try in not the triangles themselves, but the outside of the triangles. I want to do that in that cobalt blue. And so maybe on the triangles, on the inside of the triangles, maybe do those white with a titanium white, and then kind of like a lead belcher, silver, dark, the black pearl that we ended up, that would be good on some of these pieces here. And then kind of just do some accent stuff. Maybe brown on this. Magazine will be magazine color. So, but yeah, the strange thing is that nobody has painted this. I can't find any pictures of anybody who has painted this. They've printed it out, but nobody has painted it. So I need to hurry up and knock this out because, again, I've only got a couple of days to do that. So the helmet, I really need to get done. Hopefully I'll get this done by lunch today, and then I'll start knocking this one out for this. So, and then some other things that we ended up doing on this. This is a fairly good sized print, but we also did some UV resin, like what I use in my resin printer, and then I just added some baby powder and we mixed it in and put it on some of this, on this top piece here and on this, and we got some real good results. Especially there, you can see where it's a little muddled up down there, but from basically here up, that is so smooth. And then we did some on here as well, just to kind of proof of concept thing. But yeah, this should be pretty good. And this makes me want my guns. So probably what I'll end up doing for this piece here is get a little piece of plastic, put a little red dot on there, paint a red dot in the center so it'll be, you'll have a red dot. But yeah, I'm not, again, maybe we'll do some OD green for the handle, maybe some black, I'm not sure. I could do black, like on this piece here. And then I could spray paint it, and that would minimize the paint time. So I could do this piece in black, I could do this piece in black, and then I could do the cobalt blue. I could paint that with the cobalt blue, and then I could kind of do another color for like the pearl, black pearl, and then maybe some like a gray type of a metallic color on some of these pieces here. I think that would come together really well. So something that would have some contrast. So yeah, I'm not sure of the color scheme. So if you have any suggestions for a color scheme, yeah, we'll try that as well. So anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff I got to do before the 25th. And of course, the 25th is the day of the Halloween festival here in Korea. It's a few days early. I thought it was going to be more closer to the actual date of Halloween. But I was surprised, like, oh, I got time. I can go, go to Sokcho, go to the mountains, spend a couple days, come back. I still got, a week to till Halloween, and then I found out, oh no, they moved the date up to the 25th, and it's like, oh no. So I want to try to hurry and get that done. Worst case scenario, I don't have a rifle. I just walk around with a mask, and I think that'll work out. So anyway, Ferrithus says, really nice rifle. Thank you. George pops up and says, I saw the file for the Starship Trooper rifles. That will take forever if I decide to print it. Yeah, I know. You just need to get another printer and have two printers going at the same time. Get it done in twice the time, or half the time, because you're doing twice the amount. So that's what we got going on. Yeah, other than that, and we did finish up the pistol. The pistol turned out pretty good. This will be the wife's pistol, and it even has a rotating cylinder that it has on that. So yeah, this turned out good. So that is hers. At least hers is done. And then, of course, I finished up this mask. So worst case scenario, if I don't finish up the other one, I'll just wear this one, and that'll be good. And I need to put the straps. Oh, I need to put the straps on my wife's helmet. I've got more stuff to do. Okay, more stuff. Okay, so that's what we got going on. We got a lot of stuff that needs to happen, but for those people that are wondering about the rotating paint rack, again, what we end up seeing, there it is in all its glory, and you can get that for free if you go to the Creality Cloud site, which has the version 1 and the version 2. Some more upgrades on the version 2. And then, yeah, I got other stuff, paint rack, shells, whatever. We've got all that stuff on there as well. And again, the Lazy Susan, the 8-inch Lazy Susan, that's going to be coming in. You can get that off of Amazon. You don't have to get this one particularly. I just got it because it's the cheapest one. But as Ferrithus was saying, heck, you might not even need the Lazy Susan if we end up doing like a base with the spike and all that stuff, which is an excellent idea. I like that. So that'll be version 3. So anyway, if you like any of the stuff that we're doing on this channel, please like the video. That would help me out the most. And subscribe. That would be awesome too. We just recently went over 300,000 views on my videos. We've got over 301,690 views on my videos so far. And I've been on YouTube for a while. But it's a sordid story. Ups and downs and the whole 9 yards, and recently we've been getting more and more views and trying to put more attention on it. Of course, being retired helps as well. And then the good thing is, so far, cross fingers, YouTube doesn't have problems with cosplay or 3D printing and the stuff that I'm doing now, as before, apparently people had problems with it. So we're not going to poke the bear. So, but yeah, enjoying the hobby stuff. Let's see, what else we got going on? Anything interesting after the 25th? I can't think of anything. Ferrithus says, congrats. Still a great milestone. Yeah. Even though I've been on YouTube for a while, but really kind of focusing and getting better production value, getting lights and all this stuff. And, did some stuff in the background there to kind of spice up everything. And, better mics, better cameras, all of that. So, yeah, kind of enjoying the hobby and the stuff that we're doing here. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get another 300,000, a lot quicker than the first 300,000. And if I can get 100,000 subscribers, that would be awesome. You see the people on YouTube and they got that plaque for having 100,000 subscribers. That's what I would like to get to. So, yeah, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. That would mean a lot to me. But until then, we're going to cut this video short. Apologize for the coughing and the obligatory outro. So if you want to contact me, send me an email. There's the email. If you want to buy me coffee like these people did, they're awesome. There's a link in the description box. But the best thing that you could do is like and subscribe to the channel. Don't worry about the coffee or anything else. So, Ferrithus ends up saying, your background looks really nice now. Those hexagon look cool, and the colored lights work nicely, plus the workstation. Mwah. Yes, I think it worked out good. Finally worked out well. So anyway, yeah, send me an email if you print out stuff or just want to say hi. It doesn't. I answer all my emails, even the crazy ones. And if you do hobby stuff, you're crazy a little bit. So welcome to the family, and we'll continue doing more videos and see what goes on from here. So anyway, thank you, George Ferrithis, for all the good ideas. I appreciate that. That is awesome. We'll make a version 3. That'll be after the Halloween thing, because I really need to get off my duff and finish the stuff that we have and go from there. For everybody else that's watching, again, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching The Varied Life. Some good stuff. I got to finish my latte, and I got to get to working on that. So we'll let you go, and we will see you all on the next video. All right? Peace. 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 Good stuff.